Welcome to the Late Night Geek, the talk show style podcast that'll have you saying, "Let's frickin' go!" We got a great show for you this week. In a statement to the press, the Japanese manager of transportation blames anime and manga for the bad reputation that trucks have in Japan. For those of you that don't know, there is a genre of anime and manga called isekai. This particular genre is filled with stories of unexpected and unexceptional young people being transported by one way or another to a magical realm where they become a prophesied hero. Basically think of the Wizard of Oz and you got the general concept. Sometimes these characters get trapped in a video game or teleported after opening an ancient book, but the most common trope is death, and the most famous way of these characters dying is by getting hit by trucks and being reincarnated into this magical world. It is such a common trope that there is an entire manga about the guy that drives the truck because it is his literal job to teleport teenagers to magical universes. The internet also has a character they like to call Truck-kun, who is a sentient truck that starts these adventures off. It is so funny to me that the actual transportation manager of Japan had to make a statement about the bad reputation of trucks because of manga and anime. But I also understand why he may have wanted to make this statement. Young, impressionable children might think, oh, I want to be part of a fantasy adventure. I'm going to go walk in the street and step in front of a truck. But instead of being teleported to a fantasy land, they get teleported to a hospital. In the world of music, we are witnessing the confirmation of the end of an era. 10 years ago, Weird Al Yankovic released his album Mandatory Fun, and he said this would be his last full album of parody music. But a lot of people didn't believe he'd be able to stay away for long. However, it's been a decade and he still has not released a new parody album. He's been still going on tour and making new music, but there haven't been any new parodies. Recently, in an interview, he confirmed that he is done making full albums because he finds the format limiting. And it does seem like his time of making parody albums is over. But he is still making music. He just recently released a new polka cover compilation, and it is amazing. Weird Al was one of the people that informed my sense of humor a lot growing up. His wacky, off-the-wall, but still clean humor really inspired me to make the content that I make. So as long as Weird Al keeps making music, whether it's parodies or original content, albums or singles, I'm happy. It was just announced that there will be a crossover comic of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto. Now, the Turtles are no strangers to crossovers. I've even talked about their crossovers on this show before, but this is by far the coolest one they have ever announced. I cannot wait to pick this series up. I cannot wait to watch Mikey and Naruto goof off together and Raphael and Sasuke roll their eyes at them. This is a match made in heaven. I really hope there's going to be a village of Ninja Turtles that is called the Village of the Hidden Shell. That would be so hilarious. And even though both of these properties have a lot of humor in them, they also have a lot of heart. And I think that is going to make for a great combination of these two properties. A new small budget independent film just released by the name of Deadpool and Wolverine, and it seems to be a pretty big hit. So obviously Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be one of the biggest movies of the year, and there is so much to talk about when it comes to this movie. So much, in fact, the majority of this monologue in some way, shape, or form has to do with Deadpool and Wolverine. To start things off, let's talk about Xbox's new Deadpool and Wolverine controllers. Look at them! These controllers are such perfect tie-ins for the movie. The way that they are textured like their suits with finely crafted buttocks sculpted into the back. And that is just the beginning of the crazy tie-ins for this movie. We, of course, all know about the infamous Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket. But did you know that theaters are releasing so much other merch, including this Headpool popcorn bucket? I actually got one of these when I went to go see the movie, and it is so cool. The little propeller on the top spins, the jaw moves, and those tattered bits of the mask are actually made out of rubber. There's also the Deadpool and Wolverine soda cups that were released, also rubberized and textured with 3D sculpts. Normally, soda cups for movies are just plastic cups with printed images, but not these! They're beautiful, they're great, they feel great in your hand, and they fit in cup holders while also being a really cool 3D sculpt. And of course, let's not forget the baby pool popcorn bucket. Oh my gosh, look at this thing. I want one of these, but none of the theaters around me were carrying them. Days before Deadpool and Wolverine released, they also released a track list of all of the pop hits that were going to be in the movie. And this track list is amazing, and the songs were implemented perfectly in the movie, might I add. There's even a special edition 2 vinyl set being released in promotion of the movie. Not to spoil anything, but the use of NSYNC's Bye 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 is by far the best amongst the track list. And no, it is not actually used in a way you would expect. In an interview, Deadpool also revealed that his initial desire for Deadpool and Wolverine was that there would be absolutely no advertising for its release. Instead, he would be advertising a completely fake movie about 2 cops that share a brain, and then when the few people that went to go see it opening night went to sit down in theaters and watch it, it would end up being Deadpool and Wolverine. This idea is absolutely bonkers, and I'm a little disappointed they didn't at least try it. Something else happened this week that I never would have expected. Deadpool is at the Disney parks. For a limited time, both Deadpool and Wolverine are at Disney's California Adventure in Anaheim and Disney Paris in Paris. The videos that people are posting on social media are hilarious. I am so disappointed that I do not have an opportunity to go down to Disney and see Deadpool at the parks, because this is a bucket list item. I never would have thought Disney would have ever okayed the Merc with the mouth to be in their park. To cap off all this Deadpool and Wolverine goodness, I am introducing a new segment called Dope or Nope. Basically, it's just a fancy way to say that I'm going to be doing a movie review. I have to admit, going into this movie, I was going to be a little biased. I am a huge Deadpool fan. He is my favorite comic book character of all time. I've been reading Deadpool comics for going on 17 years now. But the last 2 movies are a very difficult act to follow up on. Ryan Reynolds has proven that he truly understands the character of Deadpool. Most people believe he actually is just Deadpool in real life. But not only does he understand how to play the character, he understands how to write the character and find other people that understand the character. The other writers, the directors that have made these movies, the producers, the costume designers, they all have such a love and reverence for the source material and making a faithful adaptation of Deadpool, and it shows. My main concern going into this movie was that now that Marvel and Disney have their hands on Deadpool, are they going to take away the charm of what made Deadpool so great in the first place? Are they going to pull their punches when it comes to making jokes about Marvel and Disney as a company? And I can gladly say they did not. In fact, I would argue this movie cranks it up to 11. Deadpool and Wolverine manages several balancing acts all at once, balancing the comedy and the heart, the fan service and the plot, and of course, having Wolverine in the movie without disrespecting the perfect send-off he had in Logan. And all I'm gonna say is the way that they didn't disrespect Logan was kind of by disrespecting Logan. The worst thing this movie could have done is danced around the fact that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine had that perfect send-off, but instead they danced on the grave and it was hilarious. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't let you know if dancing on the grave is literal or just a figure of speech in this instance. Ryan Reynolds obviously is amazing as Deadpool, but Hugh Jackman has not missed a step. He gives probably his best performance as Wolverine yet. It might not have the depth and the heart of Logan. It might not have the freshness of the first X-Men movie, but this Wolverine stepped right out of the comics. These fight scenes are some of the best that have ever been put to film ever, and Wolverine fights like he's never fought before. We're used to him being animalistic and brutal, but this takes it to a whole new level. The way that Wolverine moves in this movie is wild. The use of slow motion during the fight sequence is also perfect. Slow motion can be easily overused, but this movie uses it to punctuate these awesome moments of action where characters are doing really cool things. Posing in the air as they fly through a window, reloading a weapon, pulling out a sword. It punctuates the action just right. And obviously the cameos in it are numerous and perfect. Not only do we get so many cameos from past Fox Marvel films, but we get cameos from films that never happened. Ones that the fans wanted to happen for so long, but then didn't. This was the fan casting movie. And I know a lot of people complain about cameo fests, but this one used it in a way that was actually relevant to the plot and made a lot of sense. It also was able to subvert our expectations of these cameos in really great ways. A spoiler-free example would be an actor who has played two different Marvel superheroes. You think he's gonna be one character, and then he ends up being the other one. It was perfect. I could go on and on about this movie for another half hour, but I'm just gonna end it with this. Deadpool and Wolverine is definitely dope. In some very bizarre movie news, Michael Bay will be adapting the YouTube series Skibbity Toilet. Skibbity Toilet is like Gen Alpha's very first internet sensation. It's very reminiscent of those old Gmod videos that we millennials used to watch as kids, and it's basically the story of these toilets with heads in them going to war with cyborgs. What started out as just a silly video of a head in a toilet has turned into an epic saga of global domination and warfare. And now one of the most famous directors of all time is turning it into a movie. Michael Bay making Skibbity Toilet means this movie is going to have more exploding toilets than a Taco Bell bathroom. But on a lighter note for Captain America New World Order, we got our best look at the Red Hulk! And oh my gosh, I am so excited! We have been waiting for Red Hulk for so long. I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to get to see mustachioed Red Hulk, because for whatever reason they didn't want to put a mustache on Harrison Ford. But this is going to be epic! I am so looking forward to this movie. San Diego Comic-Con has officially kicked off, and even though it's only a couple days in, we are getting a flurry of crazy announcements. Marvel has really been promoting Fantastic Four at this year's San Diego Comic-Con. The streets of San Diego are adorned with Fantastic Four banners, and they teased Galactus in a drone show! I really hope we're actually going to get a full-on comic book accurate Galactus in this movie. Todd McFarlane just announced that they're going to be rebooting the Spawn franchise with a brand new live-action film. Mark Hamill is going to be voicing the Flying Dutchman in the new SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants. There is an $18.5 thousand life-size replica of the T-Rex from Jurassic Park available. I need this for my future geek cave. And most importantly, it was announced we are getting the return of Jackie Daytona, a real human bartender from Tucson, Arizona, in What We Do in the Shadows final season. Oh my gosh! The announcements just keep rolling and we're only on like day 2! Maybe next year I'll be able to do this show live from San Diego Comic-Con. That would be a dream come true. Please? Before we get to our guest, it is time for a word from our sponsors. This episode of Late Night Geek was brought to you by G Fuel. G Fuel makes delicious energy supplements in both powders and cans. They also have an amazing energy protein mix. And many of their flavors are officially licensed tie-ins to your favorite properties. This particular tub is called Ka Me Ha Me Ha! And it is strawberry and lychee flavored. I love this one in particular because not only is the flavor delicious, but you would expect a strawberry and lychee flavor to be like a light pink, but the color is actually orange like the Dragon Balls. Out of 10, I give this flavor over 9,000! I start every morning with a serving of G Fuel, and it keeps me energized and going all day long. If you would like to check out G Fuel and get 10% off your order, check the coupon code in the description below and get yours today. Thank you, G Fuel, for sponsoring this episode, and now it is time for our special guest.
Question I probably get asked more often than I'd like to assume. Like anytime somebody talks to me, recognizes me from TikTok, recognizes me from any kind of social media platform, or even when I'm live streaming and I'm playing with viewers, this is a question I get asked like probably all the time. I can almost guarantee it. Like for every stream I do, there's always gonna be somebody who's asked, "How did you get started? How did you get started? How did you get viral? How did you get big?" It just came with just me just having fun. I would say the majority of the content creators that you see on social media are just people who wanted to do something fun, and first of all, they had fun doing it, and then it just blew up on the internet. And so that's kind of how I got started. But if you're asking like where did it go? Where did it start to blow up? What went viral? What did I do? This is what happened. I was, just like everybody else, watching TikTok videos, and I always recognize people just lip syncing over videos. I mean, that was the big thing. Still kind of is a big thing, but it was really a big thing back in 2020. People just lip syncing over everything, and people were lip syncing over comedians, and I find that kind of strange. To me, that looked kind of strange. Just like, why are they lip syncing as if they're like the stand up comedian? This is Brian Regan's voice. I know Brian Regan's voice. You're not Brian Regan. Why are you lip syncing as if you're the one who's telling the joke? I didn't get that. So, but with that said, it always kind of stuck in the back of my head like that. Of those videos, every time I see those videos. So one day when I was coming back from Amazon, after delivering, I was like listening to Brian Regan compilation, or like a Brian Regan, a joke that was on Spotify, and it just clicked in my head. I said, dude, why don't I just like act out what he's talking about in the joke? And the one I started with, the first viral video that did good for me, was the Pop-Tart video by Brian Regan, where I pull out, I think, a Pop-Tarts, and it's over Brian Regan's stand-up bit about Pop-Tarts, and I just basically acted out, and I knew I had big wide eyes, so I just like started using that to my video and just put that in the video and just went like, what the? And it just worked out really well. A lot of people liked it, obviously, and I just started making more of those videos and kept doing that. Obviously in bigger videos, and that one did really well. Other videos from like comedians such as like John Mulaney, which a lot of people know me for, the being over on the bench bit, where I have like a whole glasses and hat on. I just kept doing those same videos, man, because first of all, I thought it was funny, and I thought it was creative to do, and people just loved it. People just fell in love with it, and so that's how I became DJ Hunt's Official. And yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
I know that you also had a little experience, as many TikTokers did, with Vine as well, even though I know TikTok's where you got really popular. Did you, when TikTok first came out, did you see it as a potential similar avenue like Vine was, where it's these short, succinct videos, or was it just a lot of lip sync videos that you were seeing, like music, back when it was still Musically, kind of held over to TikTok? What was it like, moving from one place?
Yeah, that was yeah. I would say Vine, when Vine was a thing, that was kind of like my gateway into the whole social media realm. With my buddy David Lopez, I was just kind of like his extra, just kind of a hands-on guy to kind of help him out with scenes, or just be extras in his videos, and his Vines and YouTubes and such. And so that was kind of like my gateway into that realm. And of course, working with a famous Viner, or someone who's just got the first 1 million subscribers on YouTube, obviously you can't help but take your shot, make some couple Vine videos and here and there that they did all right, but it wasn't like anything like viral, as what I've accomplished on TikTok with. But working with David and being with David, it definitely helped as far as like what I do and how I want to film things off my phone. I was always interested in how David filmed his Vines and how he filmed his videos, and I've always kind of like found that interesting. And so when it came to TikTok and I was doing my own thing, like it helped me in the sense of like what angle I wanted, how I want to film this, and and how to do that. Not just like, here's what I want, how do I do that? And then I just figured out a way how to do it, to basically take what's in my mind and put it on the camera. So it definitely did help. It helped just being around people who were making social media videos, making vines and making YouTubes. But it also definitely was a big bonus working with someone who's been very successful in the social media realm when it came to Vine and YouTube, like David Lopez.
Yeah, I know every once in a while I still see either you in a David Lopez video or David in one of yours. It's one of those things where it feels like TikTok and Vine, by extension, were these extremely collaborative works that these just friends would get to know each other and make content together, and then they would branch off and do their own thing, and everyone would start getting their own following. And it's just wild to see some of these people who started off on Vine are now making feature films and being in feature films. It's always crazy to me when I see a Vine or TikTok star in a movie. And it's cool to see that recognition of this new media on the old media with big budget Hollywood films.
I know. Yeah. It's really cool to see when you see like people that you just knew from high school all of a sudden now is like, oh yeah, he's in this big production with Hollywood or Universal Studios or whatever. It's cool to see that. And I guess that's like it's just it's good to see is just from not from a content creator's perspective, because to be honest with you, from a content creator's perspective, I get jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of get like, But as a friend, as someone who's looking at it as a friend, I'm like, dude, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud of making it, doing what they love to do, and making it into these big production films, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I get that jealousy thing. Sometimes I have to check my heart on that because I'm like, I work so hard on my videos and I put out so much content and it doesn't seem to do very well. And then, someone just makes a silly video lip syncing to someone else and they go super viral and they don't even like lip sync well, at least get your lips to match. And that's one of the things that I really like about your content is you transformed the lip syncing thing. You made the work transformative. You acted out what they're talking about. You made skits, which is really cool. And I think that no one had really done that to that point, or at least to the extent you had. And your expressions and your different characters, and you stay so consistent with your characters, and the effort you put into it is just amazing. And I love seeing how much success you've had making something that is transformative in nature. And I love seeing whenever one of the comedians that you do a skit about reacts to one of your videos. That's always a great time because I follow almost every single one of the ones that you do. Brian Regan, Tim Hawkins, John Mulaney, Jim Gaffigan. Those are all some of my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
And so I've loved seeing your success because I remember when I followed you, I think you had like 500,000 followers. And now you got millions. It's been really cool to watch that.
It's been that long, dude. I forgot about that. I forgot what it was. I forgot how long ago that was. That's crazy to think. Yeah, dude, it's really cool. And doing that kind of stuff was starting off. I was, it's in the back of my head. I was like, these comedians are gonna like hate me for this now, or are they gonna like enjoy it because it is their joke? And for anybody feels like thinks that I'm like stealing people's jokes and getting famous off other people's jokes. Just like I always give these guys credit. I will always do two things. I will always tag their name if they have the social media. And I will always hashtag their name. So that way it's like a double whammy. I always want to give the comedians credits. Their jokes are funny. They're funny. I'm just a mime. I'm just a glorified mime on social media. An actor. I don't even call myself an actor. Definitely not a comedian. And I love these guys who create just comedy because dude. I mean, it's such a relief. It's for me. It was such like it helped me kind of just forget about the real world for a little bit. It helped me, just forget about, just kind of take a break for a little bit and kind of laugh things off. And before I, handle some hard stuff in life. And so I always want to give these comedians like the love, and I'm very grateful that they enjoy my comment too. For the ones who do, who have responded, whether in comments or in person and stuff like that. I mean, some of these guys are great guys. You know, and but yeah, I mean, it's a blessing to do what I do, man, and I'm grateful that these comedians look at it that way, and they love it. I'm glad that they love it.
Have you ever actually gotten the chance to meet any of these comedians that you've done skits for after the fact?
Yes,
Like,
I've met. Okay, I was gonna say, who have I met after the fact? I was gonna say I met Tim Hawkins before TikTok. I met him before, he would come to my church and perform. But I would say the only really comedian that I've met after like TikTok things has been Steve Trevino. Texas Trevino, Steve Trevino. I actually went to his comedy. He did a show in La Jolla. It was like the comedy store, and I saw him coming in. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go buy a ticket and go watch him perform, and maybe try to talk to him afterwards. And sure enough, I did. And the funny how that happens, I spilled somebody's drink on the table because the tables were super wobbly. I was like, hey, I'm sorry, let me go buy a drink. And then I go in the back, and there he is, just chilling right there while the other guy, his opener, is performing. So I got to talk and chat with Steve Trevino. He knew me right away as soon as I walked back, and I knew him, and so it was just really cool. It felt very genuine and very organic. That wasn't like forced. We're trying to put faces on. And next to Tim Hawkins, I would say I have the most respect for Steve Trevino as far as like comedians go. He's a great. Honestly, in the world that we live in today, bro, he does the impossible, bro. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a stand-up comedian telling jokes, bro. And he's able to make it all work, and he's just a very, very gifted, respectful guy. And I have nothing but praise for him. So, and yeah. So Steve Trevino is basically like the only one who I've really met afterwards in person. Everybody else has kind of been like through online or comments or reaction videos and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I've actually never heard of him before.
I definitely would recommend. I'm gonna look him up. He goes by Steve Trevino. He just came out with a Netflix special too.
Okay.
He just came out with a Netflix special, and my other friend who does the same kind of content, Meg, she got to go hang out with him at his Netflix special. So he's I definitely would recommend, if you guys have never heard of Steve Trevino, I definitely recommend go check out his stuff. He really talks about like his wife being Captain. He calls her Captain Evil. If that rings a bell to you guys, but because that's always like a big one. Everybody wants him to say Captain Evil. And so yeah, Steve Trevino, otherwise known as Texas Trevino. That's how I first know him on the social medias. But yeah,
Steve Trevino. Okay, I'm definitely gonna look him up. Now, Tim Hawkins, that's a name I'm very familiar with. I've seen him perform before. He is so freaking funny and so underrated as a comedian. I think part of it's because a lot of his humor is faith-based humor and kind of homeschooler humor.
Yeah.
That kind of is pigeonholed him into a niche. But he's
big time.
His song parodies alone are just so funny. I mean, the man is so multi-talented.
I've been meaning to like do like his the government can song, but that is so elaborate. I'm like, here's the thing is though, you gotta understand like my process of thinking when I'm like hearing these jokes or these songs, according, like you gotta realize I'm the one who's gotta like put on the clothes and be all these people that he's talking about in these jokes, bro. That's like, oh my gosh, and the it's so elaborate, that song, and so many people talking into it, but it's like so. That's Tim Hawkins is probably the most underrated comedian that there is, bro, because he was way ahead of his time, way ahead of everybody, bro. Like that, you listen to that song. That song came out how long ago? Like back in the early 2000s, and it's like 2024. It's like, oh my gosh, bro, it's happening right now. He's right. You would have thought he made it yesterday. It's like, no, bro, he made it like 20 years ago or 10 years ago, bro. Like he knew what was up.
Yeah, he's hilarious. And the one thing I really like about Tim Hawkins, because there's a kind of a group of comedians that are kind of these more on the conservative side, Christian comedians, but Tim Hawkins keeps everything so positive and optimistic and friendly. and jovial. There's some other ones like there's a comedian named Brad Stein.
Yeah, I know Brad Stein.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Tim Hawkins, you'll probably be familiar with Brad Stein. Brad Stein's just always so angry and always so like aggressive, but Tim Hawkins just keeps things
Very
so
positive,
light and fun, and he just I don't know how he walks that tightrope. He's got so much joy in his heart.
He does, man. He does, bro. And it's gotta be like, come on, you gotta have your heart in a good walk with Jesus to keep the rope to be on that tightrope that he's on, because I couldn't do it, and very few people can, in my opinion. So the fact that he's done it for the fact that he does, and he's done it for so long now, is a testimony to one, his production team, and two, to his comedy. So that's why I always hold those two in high standards, because they walk such a difficult rope, a difficult stand, especially in today where I just posted up a joke yesterday, where people are just like, people can't just simply disagree anymore. Everybody's like, no, I hate that guy. I hate him.
I saw that one.
Yeah. It's like, dude, these guys are on these tight ropes, especially Tim Hawkins too, because when you add Christianity to it, when you add Jesus into it, it's like another, oh, you homophobic, transphobic, this phobic, every phobic type of person name I could throw at you, and they just throw right into your face without even hearing a joke, you know?
Yeah.
And
he doesn't even do those kinds of jokes anymore.
No, he doesn't.
So it's like he's all about life and family and just his experience. And I think that's a good place to go with humor, is to talk about your experience, talk about your life. I think we have another kind of wave of these comedians, not even like the faith-based comedians, just comedians talking about, oh, the world's gotten so woke and you can't tell a joke. And while some people are oversensitive to some humor, it's a critique, you know. People, it's some of these comedians, all their jokes have become the same, and they're all kind of in the same group, like kind of Bill Burr, Kevin James' new routine, which is weird because he used to always be so cheerful and optimistic. Ricky Gervais are all kind of telling the same jokes because they know they have an audience for it. Yeah. But Tim Hawkins, he ignores that. He goes and he tells the jokes that are about his life and that are funny and still relate to people. And I love that.
Yeah. And it's so great. And I think Steve does the same thing, bro. His best jokes, if not the majority of his jokes, it's just about him and his family. Whether it be about his wife, his kids, his mom, his dad, his upbringing, his sisters. He keeps it very relatable. Very relatable. It doesn't really go into like he does a little bit. And it's like a touch. It's like, okay, I see where this guy's from, but he gets away. But then he's like, okay, whatever. Like, all right, let me talk about my family. Let me talk about, like this, So yeah, I respect Tim Hawkins a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on our time, so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your future projects, anything you got coming on, where people can find you, anything that you want to do to promote yourself. Let us know.
Been getting really heavy into the streaming game. I'm about ready to make a big purchase for another computer so I can have 2 monitors, 2 computers. So I'm going to go heavy onto the streaming game. Currently streaming Elden Ring for the second time right now because I'm getting ready for that DLC coming out. Aside from my comedies, aside from the bits, guys, you can find me on Twitch. Streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJHuntsOfficial, and YouTube. And I recently just started streaming back on TikTok. So, yeah, those are a couple things. Aside from my comedy, if you guys are into music, if you guys are into into the kind of music or any kind of DJing phase, like my name is DJ Hunts for a reason. I do DJ, and me and my brother, we have been teaming up, emceeing and DJing, and we've been doing these emo nights all around San Diego County. So if you guys want to check that out, follow the Brothers Grimm on Instagram, TikTok. On Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, that's and Facebook. Yeah. Facebook, Instagram. So that's like the other sides. To me, this is like the other side of DJ Hunts that not a lot of people see. And that also they can relate to.
I will make sure to put, as always, those links in the description below so you'll be able to find everything that he just talked about. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the show. It's been so much fun, being your mutual and hanging out, doing collabs that we've done before, and having you on the show. It's been awesome.
It's a blast. It's always a pleasure talking with you, Jake.
Thank you, DJ Hunts, for being on the show. It was a great interview. Everyone, go give him a follow and check him out. Well, that does it for this episode of the Late Night Geek. I hope you guys had a great time. And if you have any suggestions for geeky news stories, go ahead and send it directly to our inbox on Instagram or TikTok. And if we use the story that you suggest, we will shout you out in the podcast. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and stay geeky, my friends.